Hey, care partners, Teresa Youngstrom. You know what? I need to talk to you guys about something. I'm so thankful you're always there. But this time, I'm going to get up on a soapbox. There's something that I saw this week and it's really bugging me. And so I'm thankful that I have all of you to share this idea with and see what you think. So I was on social media, which I post stuff for the business, but I wouldn't say that I spend hours a day because I'm a busy, mom, grandmom, and wife, and I've got my dad to take care of, right? So life is busy, and but I get on social media because I post there and stuff, and I think there are all these algorithms that tend to send you messages that kind of what you're interested in and what you follow and what you post. So I got a message from a woman who was the video of her mom, and she's drilling her with questions. So that gets me in the heart right away. But it was like, do you remember where you are? Well, no, honey, I don't remember where I am. And I was all, oh man, are you kidding me? We're gonna let this woman embarrass herself when do we really have permission to do that? And would she want her mom to do that? And it just gets me in the heart because I think she was trying to make a point. And okay, because at the very end of all this questioning, it was like, what'd you have for breakfast? Where did we go yesterday? Do you remember? Do you remember? Do you remember? And I just was like, really? This is what we're gonna do? This is what we do. And I was just so hurt for that woman. And I guess at the very end, she said something wonderful or beautiful or something, but not everybody will. Listen, my advice as a dementia specialist, let go of those do you remember questions. Remember I told you, remember we talked about that. No, 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 no. Those go away. When you're caring for somebody that you love, and you want the relationship to be great, I've told you guys before, but for those of you that are new, I'm a dementia specialist. I'm a seasoned registered nurse, and I took care of my mom, with my family for a decade. Okay. It was a decade of decline. And what it showed me is that, girlfriend, you got a lot to learn. And so a lot of what I teach is from my mistakes and, education I continue to get. But I can tell you that it was a heartbreaking experience to watch this woman, continue to drill her mom with questions. And I just want to tell you before I'll step down off my soapbox that I don't love that. I mean, there are a time and a place where you've gotten permission from a family to show a video of how you do things and how a person responds when you do things well. You might show feeding someone, and I've watched some good videos about that where we put the food in front of the person but they can't initiate feeding themselves. And so they just kind of sit there and don't really eat. Or someone asks them a yes, no question. We've talked about that and we'll touch on it tonight. But ask a yes, no question because they learn to say no. They learn that yes means you might do something to me. And no means you might leave me the heck alone. And so, they learn to say no. But I think there's a time and a place where you can show a video of how we did it wrong and then show a video of offering the food in a different way and watching the positive responses that come. That's different. But to go have a video where you're drilling someone whose brain isn't working with lots of questions that they can't answer. Do you remember? Do you remember? Do you remember? Guys, let's not do that. You know what? I want you to, if you're loving on someone who has memory challenges, my goal would be, first of all, relationships so important. Don't offend and upset them. You're already going to have those things pop up when you didn't even mean for it to happen. But I want you to just kind of let them feel as normal as possible. And so you need to position them to win. Tell them great stories, praise them, give them compliments. I want you to give them a compliment. Come in, introduce yourself, and give them a compliment. Okay. Kind of take away their fears. So you can plant a seed of, we know each other. It's comfortable. We have a relationship. All right. I could go on and on with that. But today I want to talk about, I get lots of questions. Lots of questions are asked. And so I want to review a few of the common ones and then get on. I've got another activity at the end if we have enough time. Gosh, time flies when you're having fun. So is dementia a medical diagnosis? I get asked that. Is dementia a medical diagnosis? And actually, we use it a lot when the person hasn't had further testing, or maybe they're further along in in the disease that they're unable to participate in further testing, um, and they're afraid. And so we just have to say, no, we're not going to do that. We're just going to treat their symptoms, symptom management and comfort care. That's okay. That's okay. But dementia itself, you're hearing a lot more people treat it kind of like a syndrome because your symptoms and my symptoms, my mom, my dad, your brother, their symptoms are going to vary. Okay. And it's usually when we get a collection of symptoms. Now, there are common ones, right? Short term memory issues, maybe getting lost, maybe wanting to go home, or maybe they're sundowning or in the evening. You know what? They don't know where they are. They want to go home. They're maybe wandering. Maybe they're repeating themselves or they become anxious about what time are we going? And so there are some common symptoms that we see, but these things are very unique to your person, your loved one. And then if we do the testing, then we can add a diagnosis to it. All right. So dementia is not really the medical diagnosis. We sometimes don't have anything further, but we have this collection of symptoms. And so we might say they have dementia. But really it means like it. And, that was true of my mom. I being as a seasoned nurse, I would tell you she had symptoms of vascular dementia and she was good in the moment. And we managed her, we managed things like blood pressure and she had, congestive heart failure. So we managed that real well, took care of her edema, fed her great. And in the moment, she could be great, but there was no short term memory, things like that. And could she get mad in a heartbeat? Absolutely, if you didn't know how to push the buttons correctly. Or how about try not pushing any buttons at all and let them feel natural? Okay, let them feel, normal. Let them feel as normal as possible. So here's another question that I get. How prevalent is this dementia thing? Well, I'm reading statistics, because we are studying it more than we have in the past. They are diagnosing some of it earlier and earlier. Um, but I can tell you that we've probably had it a long time. It's probably been in our system a long time before we start making mistakes that we can't cover for. And that's then when we usually start seeking a diagnosis, we start getting more testing and things like that. So probably 25% of people over 65 have symptoms of dementia. So you might see some diagnosis like mild cognitive impairment, MCI. And is that normal aging? Is that going to progress into a type of dementia? We don't always know. But I would say if we're figuring out if you're a person that needs statistics, that probably 25% of the 25% of people over 65 have some symptoms. And then 50% once we're over 85, 50%. So I read a statistic this week that said 1 in 3 seniors die with some type of a dementia. And I thought that's interesting. But if we know what age they are when they pass, they are older. And so that statistic, it's probably not surprising that was. Another question, do some people get a mix of a couple dementia diagnosis? And the answer is yes. Yes. So you can have Alzheimer's and you can have frontotemporal disorder. Okay. And you might have, and they call it a mixed picture. Mixed picture. It's probably pretty prevalent. But you know what? I back up, hit the pause button. I'm not so much worried about the diagnosis as I am worried about how we care for you and the relationship we have. And can we learn to come alongside and join you on your journey, whatever it may be? And the other thing is, as far as, how long we live and things like that, I think we all have different comorbidities. So, what that means is, as we age, these bodies aren't going to last forever. And some of us have diabetes, some of us have high blood pressure, some of us have respiratory issues. Maybe you've got gout or whatever your thing is. Maybe you've had a stroke. All right. And so those comorbidities frequently determine how long we're going to live. Because I had someone say, with dementia, you only live 5 years. And I said, well, some people, but I think it really has a lot more to do with the comorbidities, Are you at this point getting some sleep? Are you eating right? Are you taking care of yourself? Are you trying to keep that body moving if you can, as long as you can? Are you exercising and getting moving, and are you drinking your water? Or are you filling your body with all kinds of terrible foods and lots of sugars and carbs and things that aren't really good for your brain? So, how long you live? 5, 10, 15, 20, 20. There are certain diagnoses. Those vascular people tend to live longer if we get the blood pressure and things under control, many strokes and things under control. Is it 5 to 8 years? You've heard lots of statistics. You know what? I just want to come alongside and join you on the journey. I want whatever time you're here to be a good time, not time spent in fear, not time spent in worry, not time spent just sitting in front of the TV, unless that's all, the person who's caring for you, unless that's all they figured out how to do. But I'd like you to have some activities and movement and dancing. And there are more and more communities and coming out with better activities for people living with dementias. It's very exciting. Okay. Let's see. Another question. Um, what standard advice do you give caregivers joining someone on a journey? Well, we have to make sure that we pay attention to what brings them joy. And it can't be about us. You can't come in with an agenda to care for them. I mean, I'm all about lists, but put the list in the back pocket when you come in, because you need to assess right now if they're tracking with you. Are they having a good day, bad day? Are they in a fearful moment right now? Are they back in time 20 years? That's no reason to call the doctor. I've had that happen where they rush the person to the hospital because, my gosh, she's looking for her parents again. Well, guys, that just might happen. You know what? Sometimes they're thinking back in time, and that's okay. Can you join them on that journey? My mom would do that occasionally. No freak out. I would just join her there. That may sometimes um, mean that she didn't know who I was, or she didn't know that I was her daughter. That's okay. You know what? Just roll with it. Just roll with it and be whoever it is she wants you to be. I've had kids come in and say, I can't go see her anymore. She thinks I'm my dad and he's long gone. And I said, okay, well, you know what? I'd be my mom's mom if that's what she needed me to do, or I'd be whoever my dad needed me to be in that moment to bring them joy. There's a lot of fear going on in a brain that's broken. So, what can you do to come alongside? I'm going to say it again, and join them on their journey. Does that mean that maybe you don't get everything done on the list today? Quite possibly. Does it mean that sometimes we need to bring help in because she no longer wants to get a shower from you? Okay, well, we got to figure that out. And everybody's going to be different. We got to figure that out. Did you know people with dementia, different types of diagnosis, um, they will usually do for a stranger what they're not going to do for the person closest to them. I know, sounds crazy. Now, some of you, the relationship's different and you're able to do all that stuff. You're able to shower them and everything's good. But occasionally it's not working out. And so sometimes you need to hire in some help for some of those things so that they're not so difficult. And that'll work too. I think we make the mistake, especially in communities, of coming in, okay, Mr. Brown, time for your shower. And we haven't worked on the relationship. We haven't helped Mr. Brown feel comfortable with us. We don't spend a few minutes helping him understand what we're going to do, like maybe gathering the towels and the washcloth and his robe or his slippers or anything like that. And we rush into a task before someone whose brain is challenged, before they have time to process what's going on. And I believe that I was never taught that it's okay to take my clothes off for any Tom, Dick, or Harry who walked in the room, right? So hit the pause button. We make mistakes like that. And then when he swings at us to defend himself, because maybe in his mind, you're assaulting him. He may not process your words, guys, but what you're saying, tugging him and pulling him to push him into a shower, it's usually a cold room. There are lots of things we could do to do that better. Maybe we have the shower running for a while and warm up the space because utilizing his other senses that might help him understand what the plan is and what's going on. He may remember, oh, shower, got it. But he can't process your words. Or maybe we're talking too fast, using too many words. Guys, if we can pay attention to how many words they use with us, it'll give us a clue as to how many words we should use with them to get our point across. All right. So hit the pause button. When we're doing caregiving, we need to join them wherever they are today, whether they're back in time, whether they're tracking with us, whether they're in pain today, stomach's hurting, maybe they have diarrhea, something like that. I mean, do you want to do anything if you've got a stomach ache? I'm going to vote no. Can you just leave me alone? So maybe we hit the pause button on that person, we head down the hall, we shower the other person, and then come back and see if now maybe, Mr. Brown's in a better place and you can come alongside. There was one time working in a community where we had a gal who had really pretty perfume, but for some reason it set this one lady off. And when we just um, we let someone else go in and help, and it was okay. So we don't always know why, guys, but let's just go with the flow. Don't push them to do things that they don't want to do. You are only making it worse. And I can tell you that they may not remember all the words that you're saying, but they will remember how you make them feel. And so that's what I want you to keep in mind. Something else we're going to do today, I have some tools that we use when we teach. And I've been asked to review these again. I've used them a little bit in the past, some of the short videos, but we haven't really used them much in the long videos. And so I'm going to review a few of these that I have because I think they're great. So, mm, yep, approach from the front. So important. That should be one of the first things you start doing if you're caring for somebody living with dementia. Why do we do it? Right, because the peripheral vision starts to, they lose that, right? They lose the ability to see all out here. So think of a scuba mask. Think of them wearing the scuba mask right in front of them. And if that's where they can see, that's how we approach. Teepa Snow would say, approach, stop 6 feet out. She would say it should be probably their arm's length and your arm's length, right? Kind of a safety distance. So I'm not threatened if you're that far away from me. How about you introduce yourself? Okay. And offer your hand. Those are things that touch into our muscle memory. And it may make me put out my hand to touch you. And you didn't have to work so hard to get permission to touch me. But it all starts with this. You got to approach from the front. All right. We got that. I think we all get it. Oh, goodness. Yeah. This was something I had to teach a gentleman this week. His wife, they have a really good relationship and they've been together a long time. And this is early for her. And we had a great conversation. And then it's, it's hard for me sometimes to say all the things that need to be said when it's the three of us. And so frequently I'll have another appointment with the person who is the caregiver so that we can talk some specifics about what's going on, what's driving him crazy, and give him some better techniques on how to come alongside and help her through this. And so this was something we had to help him understand. We got to stop correcting because if you don't know you're doing something wrong, correcting me, it's going to make it worse. And guess what? If I think I'm right, I think I'm right. And to the moon with you, and it can always make things worse. And so I think the sooner you realize that correcting them doesn't help, and it may be the 10th time she's asked, when are we leaving? I mean, some people will use tools to like maybe they have a whiteboard on the island they've been using for a long time or a note on the refrigerator, whatever it is, note by the door, whatever your routine is the way to go. So hopefully you've got a routine on how you would remind somebody. And maybe you put the note there if they can still read. But listen, as a last result, if they can't use any of those tools anymore, well, you're going to have to say, oh, honey, yeah, we're going to leave at 1. Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to go see, the kids. We're going to leave at 1. And then if you can maybe redirect them to engage them into something else, need their help to do something, whether it's stack up the books or sort something or fold some towels, sort some socks, whatever. Help them feel like they're needed, they have purpose, all those things. That might help get their mind off of there's obviously some worry there about going wherever they're going. All right. So this is important. Got a big stack here. Oh, all right. Can we do this? Can we avoid those yes, no questions? Because, like I said before, they learn to just say no. So maybe instead of, "Are you gonna eat breakfast today? Are you gonna get a shower?" Maybe we switch that up to, "Did you want, eggs, and sausage, or were you thinking oatmeal? Eggs or oatmeal?" Giving them an either or, there's a time and a place. Not everybody's ready for the strategy, but you got to position yourself, to help them at whatever stage that they are, join them on their journey. And eventually, using either or was a great tool with my mom. Blue dress, red dress. Blue dress, red dress. And then whenever they pick, praise them. Thankful they picked that one. I think I bought that dress for you. And be sincere. They can see through the BS. Just saying. They can see through that. So your tone and body language has to be all in, along with the words that you use. And think about talking more slowly. I'm so guilty of talking fast. I get an idea and blah, 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 we are rolling with it. So I really have to consciously think about talking slower and using fewer words. And eventually we'll use our hand signals. Okay. Got it. All right. Moving on. This one has got to be on your list. We got to be able to say we're sorry with sincerity. With sincerity. This is a great way to settle things back down because they get offended easily and you may not even know why. But to be able to say, "I'm sorry, what was I thinking? You know what? I came in too fast, didn't I? Take on it. I'm trying. I'm learning. I'm learning. I'm so sorry." And then see if we can start over. Start on another foot, maybe come in more slowly, or maybe someone else comes in. This is so important. The apology may just reset the moment, and you still may be able to get done what you were hoping to do that morning. Okay. This one, oh my gosh, this is early on. Ta-da! Accept and agree. We got to accept and agree. Accept and agree, even when they're wrong. Even when they're wrong. Rarely, rarely are they asking something that would be dangerous. Now, if it's dangerous, you have to come up with a different technique. But 95% of the time, they want something and it doesn't matter. So just accept and agree. They want to be right about something, just accept and agree. All right. It's not really that hard once you start practicing it. But I'm telling you that if you try working on these techniques and you haven't heard about them before, you will mess up. We all do. I definitely did. And I had to keep reminding myself. But it's so good once you get in a good routine and they're not throwing their fists up at every turn because you're coming in too fast, because you're correcting finger wagging, asking them to do stuff that they can't do, asking them now think about this. Think about when I told you what time. Why do you keep at? Oh gosh, you guys, it's brain failure. It's brain failure. It's not fair. Not a fair statement. So we got to give that up. And listen, if this is too much, then you got to bring in help. And if that doesn't work, we've got to move on to the next stage. And there are lots of companies that will help you find the best location for her based on your income, based on where you live, based on her level of abilities. And I love these companies because placement companies, you know what? They usually have their finger on the pulse of these companies. They know who's doing great. They know who they've used before and it went well or it didn't go well. They know who has just changed over all of their management. Not a good choice. Okay. They know who the state's been bugging about problems for the last year. Okay, not a good fit. But they know those things. They have their finger on the pulse. And so I want you to don't kill yourself. Don't be a martyr here. It doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help anybody. And you may end up putting them in a situation that would be dangerous for them because you're exhausted and you maybe need to leave and get out in the heat of the moment, and it may not be great. And so, listen, don't beat yourself up. Some people get sick and die before the person with dementia because they sacrifice it all, they lose it all, they give it all and lose it all. I don't want that to happen to you. Um, and so I think that's enough of my reminder boards for today. But I'm Teresa Youngstrom. My company's A Better Approach to Memory Care. Glad you're here today. What we do is difficult. What we do is important. And when other lives matter, it's so important to get training. Listen, you don't automatically know how to care for someone with brain failure just because, I mean, it's just not an automatic thing. You get to the golden years and you think, oh, this is great. We're going to travel. We're going to do X, Y, and Z. And maybe a spouse comes down with this, or maybe, you're in your 50s and 60s and all of a sudden mom or dad gets a diagnosis and they're going to need more help. And it's hard, but you need training. Nobody gets listen, it won't go well without training. Can I tell you that? I do know people who have tried to wing it on their own. I know some really terrible situations where people left their home because the son or daughter thought it was they could be okay by themselves, and it wasn't safe. All right? Or I actually knew a family, I know I hate to tell you this. I knew a family that actually had a lock on the door, on the bedroom door, and they'd put mom and dad in there together with some food and water and then go to work. Guys, that is so wrong. So very wrong. We can help you so much in the interim. And there are people all over the country that do what I do and can come alongside and help you care for this person, help you join them on the journey. Okay? It's not the worst thing that could happen. And listen, it's not a pancreatic cancer. They don't die in 3 months. This is memory. It's brain failure. And it usually doesn't go away real quick. And it is something that continues to decline. And we have to keep adjusting and learning and getting new techniques on how to help them at each stage of this game. But you can do it. I know you can do it. Our family did it. All right. Was it hard? Yep. But did we learn so much? Did we get to the point where she had joy again and it wasn't this all the time? Yep. So anyway, I'm Teresa Youngstrom. If I can be more of help, my website is www.teresayoungstrom.com. And I hope that you'll reach out so we can find someone to help you too. Okay. Thanks, everybody. And thanks to Griffo Productions for being the best broadcaster out there. Take care, everybody. You got this.